And frankly speaking, unless you drive through the toll plazas or any one of those toll plazas, you can keep going back and forth that new road, including, you will see, we're also getting ready, you will see equipment's already there, by Caverton to build a new on-ramp that will take you, when you're going westbound in the direction of Bonny Camp, will take you directly onto Falmore Bridge. That's going to be a huge benefit in decongesting that particular area. If all you ever do is that, and you don't go through the toll plazas, you don't pay anything. And actually, if you look at that first toll plaza, as will be the case in all the other two toll plazas, you have an alternative route. You can go down legally through Water Corporation Road, Oniru Market Road, and you can totally bypass the toll plaza. That's actually why Lagos State government constructed those roads, to make sure that there are alternative routes for people who do not want to drive through the toll plaza. Now, so this is very important because, again, this is another myth that's being put out there, that you're being forced through the tolls. Now, why are there three? I mean, there are three, they're in equidistance, so every 10 kilometers apart. They're what we just call capture points. It's the best way that we found through our studies to distribute the capture of the revenues. There's nothing sinister about it. It's perfectly normal.
All right. 30 years, you're going to concession. The road will be managed by you, so to speak. Yes. For 30 years. That's a whole of, that's a long time. Why 30 years? It means that a child who is born before the tolls are, would continue to pay until he's about 30 years old. Sure. So why 30 years? That's a whole lot. That's a long time.
No, well, depends on what your frame of reference is. You see, when you look at concession agreements around the world, they typically range from anything from 25 years even to 100 years. There's an example I often use, the Chicago Skyway project in the United States of America. That's a 99-year concession. In fact, the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, as we understand it, is a 25-year concession. 30-year concessions are quite the norm. It's nothing unusual. But again, why do you need to have such a period of time? A lot of it is linked also to the financing structure. Look, infrastructure is not cheap, particularly in an area like Lekki, where I'm sure you will see for yourself that the road asset has so deteriorated, it is in terrible, terrible shape. It's not just a matter of expanding, we're actually having to rebuild a lot of that road from the bottom up. So, you know, that costs a lot of money. Now, what we're trying to then do is to ensure that the impact of the cost, because that's what a direct recovery system is, as in the toll system, that the impact of the cost is as minimal as possible. You spread that over the longest possible time.
We'll take a short break now. The program is Head to Head, and when we return, we have still more questions for Mr. Opuiyo Oforiokuma to answer. Stay with us.
Thank you.
Welcome back. The program is Head to Head, and I have the CEO and Managing Director of Lekki Concession Company, Opuiyo Oforiokuma, answering questions that you would love to know, clarifications that is about the Lekki, the concessioning of the Lekki-Ekpe Expressway. And just before we went through the break, you were talking about the 30-year, why it has to be 30 years. Sure. And now, how much are you going to be charged for 30 years? Because this is another thing. Because of the ripple effects that whatever you're charging will have on, you know, transportation. Someone is living in Ajah, is going to work at Victoria Island with 3 toll gates. Why for 30 years? Don't you think that's a whole long time?
So let me deal with the first one of why we haven't announced the tolls yet. Then it's very important that I explain to people the entire concept, 30 years, what they're paying, and importantly what they're getting for it, because that's the bit that people often leave behind. Look, first point I have to say is this, okay? Our tolling structure is regulated by law. I mean, there's something we abbreviate, we call it the Lagos Roads Law of 2004. Legislation was put in place by this government even before this concession agreement was signed, okay? So this is not an issue of we can just go and charge willy-nilly what we like. Our prices are set by government, so we're not profiteering. Secondly, there's the calculation mechanism, for example, includes us having to index for, say, inflation. That's normal in these types of agreements and these types of systems. So if we're not yet going to open up the tolls and start charging, you have to understand that it's a bit tricky to say right now that's the price. Now, the other thing I also have to say, and this is very, very important that people need to understand, is that the price that you pay will also, to a large extent, be dependent upon your use and your circumstances. Let me explain what I mean. There are a series of incentives that we are looking to introduce. So people often say, well, I'm going to go through 3 toll plazas and come back through 3 toll plazas. Oh my God, I'm going to become bankrupt. Not quite true. Not true at all. We're looking at, for example, a frequent user discount. And for people, for example, who use the full electronic tolling that we're bringing as well, it'll allow us to know you've gone through A, B, C toll plaza and back again. We can apply an algorithm that hopefully reduces the cost on you. There is a special incentive for commercial vehicles. Obviously, we're going to have to verify that they're genuine, bona fide commercial vehicles. So there'll be a special discount. And the purpose of that, twofold. We recognize that a lot of the people that use those transport systems in the area are the lower socioeconomic groups, and we want to try and limit the impact on them. I'll come back to that point. And the other thing as well is to basically help that section of the industry, so to speak. We're also looking at local area discounts. That's a bit more difficult to, or rather incentives, a bit more difficult to apply. But in South Africa, for example, they do it, and so we're studying that system. Now, if I may just continue, because I want to now talk about the bit I said people often forget about. Look, we're not just sitting down there and collecting money. You have to look at what we're giving you as a result. A better maintained road, a more convenient way of moving around. Take, for example, there's a broken down vehicle. We have breakdown recovery services take that way. God forbid it's an accident. Ambulances. The value of time. That Danfo driver that people try and make capital out of. Think about a future where you can go faster from A to B. Maybe today that Danfo driver does 1 trip. Tomorrow he might be able to do 2 or 3 in the same amount of time. You will therefore begin to see the benefits that should accrue to people. And that benefit will accrue over the entire 30 years. So people talk about the money side. Look, the road today, Victor, is not free. You are stuck in go slow. That itself costs you time.
So why didn't your company, with all these lofty ideas, why didn't you do another road instead of leaving an existing road?
Well, okay, so let me ask you this question. I know I'm the one being interviewed, but I often feel when I hear that question like, so do you believe that that road in its current condition should be left the way it is? It has been totally disintegrated. It is in a dangerous condition in many areas. It is in an atrocious state. And you see, right now, there are people living and transacting business in that area.
So that is what, basically, just to take care of the road for, how much is going into this project? Okay.
The total cost we've advertised is in the region of 50 billion naira.
And not 300 billion.
Again, like I said, we struggle sometimes, Victor, with why people, including your guest, the previous show, would say things like that. They know the facts. We've told them the facts. He claims that LCC itself has said it'll cost 300 billion. We never did say that.
The average Nigerian will ask you, why 300 billion? That is, if that was to be the cost.
Yes.
Now, we have roads, other people in other states, 500 million, 800 million, 1 billion, 2 billion. And that's a whole lot of money. And the other issue is fencing.
But Victor, please, before you go off, can you again record clearly, okay? LCC has never said that road is going to cost 300 billion. That is a falsehood. We don't know why it's being peddled, and we have explained that very clearly. So let's get the facts straight.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, fencing. You are constructing a new road, and you intend to fence. What about the price, the premium on properties located along this axis? Don't you think that you're going to do a lot of disservice to those people?
No, not at all. I mean, I think the first thing we have to look at is why fencing, and then we can talk about, because as you can see from the evidence, property values in that area have been going up quite dramatically since this road has been coming, because people can see it's coming, it's opening up the development corridor, and that is boosting real estate values. But look, there is nothing sinister about fencing like your previous guest was trying to say. Okay,
you're fencing in so that someone would not just veer off. The person might have,
it's about
will
safety.
Have to go through the toll gates.
No, not at all. Remember one point about the toll gates that I mentioned earlier on. There will be alternative routes. So nobody's trying to force you through.
But alternative routes we have so far end somewhere at Oniru Beach. That's where it ends.
Yeah, but listen, it's a progressive thing, okay? What I'm saying to you quite categorically is that there will be alternative routes around each of the toll plaza. it's a good thing that there is already one around Oniru Market Road, because that's the first toll plaza